So I'm here to explain what happens when the moon goes into the third house in our birth chart. So what is the moon? The moon represents our mind, our emotions, our mother, the way we might emotionally, react and respond to situations. And that's basically what the moon is, short and simple. The third house represents younger siblings. It represents written communication. It represents social media, short distance travel, and it represents our friends. And when these two come together, the moon and the third house, this is a good placement because for one, moon the third house in some astrological texts is known as the temple of the moon. And I didn't really sort of understand it at first, but now I can relate to it and understand for many numerous reasons for why the third house is known as the temple of the moon. Because think about it. I know when I was younger and I would see the moon at night, I thought, why is the moon always following me? Why is the moon always everywhere that I go? No matter where we drive, the moon is there. And why is it so close and stuff? Well, what is the third house? It is short distance travel. It's our friends. It's the things close to us within our vicinity. So knowing that the third house represents our friends and short distance travel, and just like things within our vicinity, like within maybe our neighborhood or the state, it sort of makes sense because the moon shares that quality. The moon is always close to the moon is always close to us. When we look up at it at the night sky, it seems to always be close to us, always be following us. So for that perspective, it makes sense. The third house is also associated with like early education from like the mother. So that's another reason why the moon is sort of the third house, known as like the temple of the moon. And even in like Hindu, Indian, Vedic, sidereal mythology, the moon is the father of Mercury. Because the third house is the house that is ruled by Mercury in Gemini. But mythologically, at least in, Hindu, Vedic, sidereal astrology, the moon is the father, the biological father of Mercury. But Jupiter played the role as a stepfather and raised Mercury as his own son. So that's all I know mythologically wise, but there's just this relationship, I think it's a good relationship with moon being in the third house. So one of the things that you can see when moon comes into the third house is that these people have a great way of like emotionally relating to people through written communication. What do I mean by this? So these people, they could probably prepare a speech, write a good book, or type something up on social media, on the internet, and they'll be able to type it up and communicate it in a way that it just emotionally relates to the audience that the person is trying to reach and speak to. Like they can just really emotionally relate and just hit home with their target audience when they write a book, or maybe type a post up on the internet. Since the moon is the emotions in the mind, and the third house is like social media and stuff, these people could easily probably get caught up in like looking at TV shows and animes and music, because all that's like a form of media, a form of entertainment. So moon, the mind, the emotions being here, these people can really get sort of caught up and drawn to, and maybe get really emotionally invest in maybe things like TV shows and movies and music, and get really emotionally invested to what's going on in social media, possibly with moon in the third house. Another thing you might see with people who have moon in the third house is that these people can probably just have a real emotional and close, they probably just really emotionally relate to their friends and really emotionally relate to their siblings and whatnot. One thing that you see with moon in the third house is that These people could become great at like learning, but only great at like learning and reading books if it's something that they emotionally relate to. Because as I keep repeating, the moon is the mind and the emotions. So, you know, these people can be great at, you know, just literature, at reading and writing and maybe making books, but they got to be able to emotionally relate to what they're reading first. They got to really have an interest in what the hell that they're reading and learning for them to excel in it. Because the moon is like a sponge. The moon is, it originally rules Cancer in the 4th house. Cancer is a water sign. Water is easy manipulated, and water is easily contaminated, so it can easily absorb things. So their mind can easily retain and absorb things and be affected by their environment. It can be easily affected by their environment. So these people's mind can really be agitated and really be contaminated if they let the wrong things get absorbed into their mind through social media, through what they read. But on the flip side, if they instill their brain with the right things, read the right things, look at the right things, then they'll be able to easily absorb and retain a lot of knowledge and wisdom and stuff like that. I always sort of say, you know, we got to be like the chef of our mind. Because like I said, our mind is like water. And when you look at, and when you make a good dish, when you make food, or when you look at damn near any product, hair products or whatever, but I'm gonna just use food for this example. One of the first ingredients, no matter what the hell you're making, the number one ingredient for whatever you're making has to be water. Water is like the base. It's like the foundation of everything. But you just can't eat a dish with just water. It'll just be plain and bland. So when you're making a cake, you use water and flour and eggs and all this other stuff. When you're making food, you use water and season and all this other stuff to make a good dish. So you want to treat your mind the same way. You want to keep it diverse, and you want to put good ingredients in your mind for it to flourish and for it to be stable. Because moon in the 3rd house can sort of be slightly agitated, because moon is a fast-paced, you know, astral body. It stays in the sign for 2.5 days. The 3rd house is ruled by Mercury and Gemini. Mercury stays in a sign for like a month. So this is a fast, you know, body, planetary body, moon, sitting in a house of another fast moving planet. So the mind can easily be very fast paced, easily very active, and easily absorb a lot of things. And this fast pacedness can drive someone mentally crazy in a sense. Their mind can be very overactive, and that is why I said it's very important for them to be cautious of the things that they read and look at on social media, because it can affect their mind and emotions more so than others in a subconscious manner. That is just about all I can think of and have to say when it comes to moon in the 3rd house. I hope this video gave clarity and shined some light and insight for the people who have this placement and was wondering if it's a good placement or not. Thank you for watching.